Hi, I'm Marco Rubio, and this is this week's edition of Constituent Mailbox. Just as a reminder, every week we reach into our emails and into our mailbox, we pull out a few letters and we read them on the air and then we answer them. So I encourage you to email us or write us because you never know, maybe your letter will be one of the ones we read next week. This week we've gotten some pretty consistent mail about the price of gas from a number of different people. So I want to read a couple of those letters and then address the issue of the rising cost of fuel. The first letter comes from a Boy Scout. His name is Colin in Ponte Vedra, and he writes, I'm a Boy Scout in Troop 277. I am writing to let you know that my family and I are very concerned about the high price of gas. This will have a serious impact on our economy and Americans. Please do what you can to bring the price of gas down. I know this is a very complicated issue and the solution is not easy, but your actions in the Senate can make a difference. Thank you very much for your effort and for considering my concern. A second person writes an email. It's Beverly in Lakeland, and she writes, a friend of mine just posted a photo of the gas pump when he filled the tank in his truck. He paid $99.11 for 27.35 gallons in Orlando. How is this possibly helping the economy? How is it possibly fair to the middle and lower economic classes? How can it possibly not be collusion when prices are nearly the same and rise equally at every station regardless of company? How is the economy going to improve when gas prices and oil companies' profits continue to rise in astronomical figures? I am all for capitalism, Senator Rubio. I understand the need for and right to an inequality of incomes, but how is this not a concern of national security? Well, both of you raise valid points, and it is an issue of national security, and I'm glad you raised it in that context. Let's begin briefly by understanding how the price of gas is set. It's basically based on petroleum and oil prices around the world, and like everything else, it's a function of supply and demand. The more of it people want, and the less of it there is, the more expensive it is. And more people use gas today than ever before. You have more people flying, you have more people driving in China alone. You have millions of drivers that didn't exist 10 years ago. So you have more people driving, you have more people flying, and you have more uses of petroleum. So the increase in demand is there. But what about the increase in supply? Well, the nations that produce oil deliberately keep supply down. They manipulate, it's true, they manipulate how much oil is available. Why? Because they want the price to be right for them. If they know that if it's too high, people will find something else to use. They know that if the price is too low, they're walking away from profits. So they're constantly adjusting the price up and down based on demand and other market conditions to hit just the right price. And they do that because their goal is to make sure that oil is expensive enough so that they make money, but not so expensive so that we find something else. And that's why oil prices and gas prices are constantly fluctuating. Now, what can America do about it? Well, the first thing we can do about it is increase supply, how much gas is available. And that's why it's critical that we avail ourselves of all of our energy resource. Do you realize that America is the most energy-rich country in the world? We have access to petroleum deposits that we didn't even know we had a few years ago. It's true that America is not the largest oil supplier in the world on a percentage basis, but it is the most energy-rich country as an individual nation. And yet we have acres and acres and miles of area under our jurisdiction that our law prohibits us from accessing oil. Now, that needs to be done safely. None of us ever want to see an environmental catastrophe happen again. None of us, for example, in Florida, who saw firsthand the impacts of the BP oil spill, ever want to see something like that ever happen again. And it doesn't have to, because the technology exists to safely access petroleum products without harming our environment. And so we should do that. We should have all of our energy resources at our disposal because the more of it we produce, the more supply of it there is. And the more supply Americans are producing, the more of that money stays here with American workers that help drill it, with American salespeople that help sell it. This is so critical for our future. And that's why we need more supply. We also need the Keystone Pipeline. It's not going to solve all of our problems, but it's a critical component of supply availability. Why would we ever walk away from the chance to work with Canada on accessing oil and making it available so that there's more supply to meet the increase in demands and thereby stabilize prices? These are things we can do on the supply side, and we're not. Because of political considerations, this government has tied the hands of the American innovator to access more of our energy resources. It makes no sense. And prices are going to continue to go up so long as the federal government makes it harder for us to access our oil deposits and our energy resources. Then there's the issue of demand. And that is one of the other ways that we can lower the price is to use less of it. And I believe in energy technology that makes us more energy efficient. And it has to be cost effective, of course, because if it costs $5,000 more to buy a car that uses less gas, but you're not saving $5,000 in gasoline, well, then it doesn't make economic sense to people. So we should continue to invest in and look for opportunities to create environments where the private sector can advance the cause of energy efficiency, more energy efficient motors, more energy efficient cars. You see this increase in electric cars. Now we have to be careful that government doesn't intervene and start picking winners and losers, because that's where cronyism kicks in. That's where all of a sudden companies that give a lot of campaign contributions find that they're getting all the federal subsidies for their specific technology. Government should encourage these things, but we should let prices and markets decide which alternative energies and which energy technologies are the ones that move ahead, not politicians. And that's what we've seen too much of, where campaign contributions and support is what decides which industries and which companies start getting some of this help when it comes to energy efficiency and energy alternatives. But we need, above everything else, a comprehensive energy policy. Right now, America has energy politics. That means politicians that give speeches about the high price of gas. But we don't have an energy policy. One that says, yes, we love our environment and we want to protect it. We are also the richest, the most energy-rich country in the history of the world. And we have to have access to all of our energy resources. And I hope to work in a bipartisan way to create an energy policy that secures our country, protects our economy, and makes life more affordable for all of us. Well, thank you for writing me this week on this issue of energy. I'm sure it will continue in the months to come. This is a long-term issue, not one that's going to be solved overnight, but it is one we need to solve. I encourage you to continue to write us and email us, because you never know. Next week, your letter or email may be the one we read on the air. Thank you once again for the privilege of serving you here in the United States Senate. May God bless all of you and your families. May God bless the state of Florida. And may God always bless the United States of America.